Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of that together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/prevent. Protect yourself now at aura.com/prevent.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Looking for these better days.
It is Thursday, July 30th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. Another win for the Major League Baseball doubleheader system, even though we were on the wrong side of it, kind of. The NBA still looking into what's going on with Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, putting that trade with the Toronto Raptors on hold even further. And we continue our 32 in 32 team previews with the Pittsburgh Steelers on this episode of Better Day presented by FanDuel. But we start in Major League Baseball, where yesterday the Mets and Braves played a doubleheader, which saw the Mets win Game 1, 3-2, and the doubleheader system comes through with the Braves winning Game 2, 1-0. Now, Chris Sale was on the bump for the Braves, and I went ahead and played the Braves minus a 1.5, and they didn't score until the 6th inning. Christian Scott threw 6 innings for the first time this season, and Sale was dominant. 6 shutout innings, only 2 hits allowed, 9 Ks. The Mets only had 2 hits in the entire ball game. If you told me the Mets were going to get shut out and only have 2 hits the entire ball game, I would have told you for sure that the Atlanta Braves covered a 1.5, but that's not what happened. But they still got the win, so the doubleheader system comes through with the loser in Game 1 winning in Game number 2. As for that performance by Chris Sale, it definitely had an impact on the Cy Young odds in the National League. Up on FanDuel right now, Jacob Mizorowski still a minus 360 favorite, but the odds on Sale shorten a bit as he is now plus 700 as the second favorite, ahead of a pair of Phillies in Christopher Sanchez and Zach Wheeler. Speaking of the Phillies, we took a loss on the Phillies yesterday in a day game against the Marlins in what really shouldn't have been a loss. Like I tell myself all the time, I hate bullpens. I hate losing baseball bets because of bullpens. Why am I not just sticking to the first 5 innings? Played the Phillies yesterday over the Marlins. Jesus Luzardo on the bump, and he looked great for the first 5 innings, maybe 4 innings. He gives up 3 runs in the bottom of the 5th inning, but that's okay because the Phillies staked him to a 6-0 lead. And they still led 6-3 going into the bottom of the 7th inning when Luzardo was tagged for 3 more runs. The game was tied at 6. The Marlins scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th to come from 6-0 down to beat the Phillies 8-6. That is just a disaster of a loss for the Philadelphia Phillies. And go figure, the Marlins, who could not get out of their own way, losing 12 straight games, just swept the Philadelphia Phillies. That's baseball, Susan. Well, speaking of the New York Yankees, they lose in extra innings, 6-5 to the White Sox in 12 innings. Cam Schlittler, the favorite for the American League Cy Young Award, now minus 145 up on FanDuel. He pitched 6 1/3 innings of 2-hit baseball, allowing 1 run, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, lowering his ERA to 2.04. The Yankees had a 4-0 lead after scoring 4 runs in the top of the 1st inning. The White Sox scored a run in the bottom of the 7th, 3 in the bottom of the 8th to tie it. The Yankees scored in the top of the 11th inning, and then a botched pickoff play allowed the White Sox to tie the game with 2 outs in the bottom of the 11th inning. Just a boneheaded play. I mean, I don't know why you're trying to pick a guy off a third. There's 2 outs. Like, just get the batter out, and another disastrous Yankee loss. New York now 1-7 in extra inning games this year. That is the worst record in Major League Baseball. Taking a look at your schedule for today, we have an early game between the Rangers and the Rays in Tampa. Shane McClanahan on the bump for the Rays, who are minus 144 favorites. Royals at the Twins. Noah Cameron for Kansas City. Bailey Obear for Minnesota. Twins minus 143. Yankees and White Sox at it again. Ryan Weathers for the Yankees. Sean Burke goes for the White Sox. Chicago a minus 114 favorite. Cubs will send Javier Assad to the bump against Adrian Palante and the Cardinals. St. Louis minus 120. And then tonight, Nationals are at the Braves. Atlanta minus 150. Marlins at the Mets. Nolan McLean and the Mets minus 136. Yuri Perez counters for the Marlins. Pirates are minus 114 favorites at the Reds. The Red Sox at the A's with Sonny Gray on the bump. Boston minus 168. Giants at the Padres. San Diego minus 131. It could be and probably is the final start in a San Francisco Giants uniform for Robbie Ray with the trade deadline coming up on Monday. And the nightcap tonight, the Dodgers with Roki Sasaki on the mound, minus 156 favorites up on FanDuel against the Seattle Mariners. NBA news, the report came out yesterday that the league's probe into whether or not the Clippers circumvented the salary cap to pay Kawhi Leonard could actually drag on into next year. And we know what happened with the Toronto Raptors agreeing to a trade with the Clippers back in June, and then like a week or so later, the two teams saying, whoa, we're putting this trade on hold. Because obviously the Toronto Raptors want no part of this, right? Like, sure, they want Kawhi back. That would be great for them, but they don't know exactly what went down with the Clippers and Kawhi and whether they paid him under the table and whether there's going to be fines or suspensions. It feels like the NBA just wants this story to go away, but right now it is not going away and apparently may not go away until 2027. NFL news at Rams training camp, Myles Garrett talked about the possibility of getting Aaron Donald to come out of retirement. Sean McVay talked about Donald, how he's preparing and training on the side to see how his body responds to before making a decision if he wants to come out of retirement and play for the Rams this year. I mean, how ridiculous would that be if Aaron Donald comes out of retirement, plays alongside Myles Garrett on that defense? The Rams are already the short shot favorite up on FanDuel to win the Super Bowl, plus 550. Aaron Donald comes back. I mean, this number shortens to what? Plus 400, right? Like, it just makes this defense just, which is already graded out as the number one trench team in the NFL on our trench report, it just adds a whole nother level. Like, could you imagine Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett on the same defensive line? Like, insane. Elsewhere, we did our Cincinnati Bengals preview earlier this week, and we talked about their how bad they grade out in the trench report, right? Well, now their trenches just took a big hit. Defensive end Shamar Stewart was carted off the field yesterday with a leg injury that they fear could be season-ending. This was a guy who was their first-round pick last year, only played 8 games, got 1 sack in those 8 games, but the team had high hopes for him coming into this season, especially after acquiring Dexter Lawrence as well. They needed improvement on that defensive front for a unit that was just so atrocious last season. But now if Stewart is out for the year, that is a big blow to an already poorly graded out defensive unit. All right, let's talk about a defensive unit that has a little bit more optimism surrounding them. It's time for our 32 and 32 preview of the Pittsburgh Steelers. 32 teams in 32 shows continues as we preview each team, counting down the shows until the kickoff of the NFL season on Wednesday, September 9th. Today's team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Up on FanDuel, the Steelers plus 158 to make the playoffs, minus 188 to miss the playoffs. Their win total is 8.5 games, minus 130 to the under. Currently sitting at plus 510 to win the AFC North. And their division wins number is at 2.5, minus 180 to the over. And the big story with the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, Mike Tomlin out after 19 seasons as the head coach. You know, he's never had a losing season, right? And in comes Mike McCarthy, former Packers head coach, former Cowboys head coach, and former head coach of Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers from their time in Green Bay. That was a long time ago. Rodgers is now 42 years old and in the swan song of his career. And how Mike McCarthy molds this offense around Aaron Rodgers and his abilities at this age is going to be very interesting. The Steelers do have weapons on the outside. They acquired DK Metcalf last season, and in the offseason, they brought in Michael Pittman. So you have two legit wide receivers that can win one-on-one battles and two wide receivers that are very good down the field. On defense, free agent Jamel Dean comes over and immediately gives this secondary a boost. If Jalen Ramsey on the opposite side can play to form, we're talking about a pretty good secondary and a very good cornerback tandem. Now, their pass rush, of course, led by TJ Watt, who currently up on FanDuel is 30-1 to be the defensive player of the year. And the reports early from training camp said that Watt's been working on both sides of the field this year. Like primarily, he was on the left side with Alex Highsmith on the right side, but apparently TJ Watt's been working at both left and right outside linebacker. So that's going to be interesting to see if that gives him a boost and he gets back to his form that kept him in the running for Defensive Player of the year in and year out. Well, let's face it, rushing the quarterback has never been the Steelers' problem and won't be a problem for the Steelers this year. With Watt, Highsmith, Herbig, Sawyer as well, like this team is going to get after the quarterback this year. But just how will the full team look under Mike McCarthy in his return to head coaching? And how many games will this team win? And will they be a playoff team, yes or no? They open up the season at home against the Atlanta Falcons, and the Falcons dealing with, their quarterback situation, probably going to be Tua, as Penix is still not ready to go. They do have the international game on October 25th. They'll play the New Orleans Saints in Paris. But overall, this schedule is middle of the road based on Vegas win totals. The Steelers with right around middle of the league, 16th, 17th, 18th in terms of their strength of schedule. I have the Steelers as a 9-win team right now, which is over the win total of 8.5, and you can get plus money on that over. Whether or not they make the playoffs is going to matter on how the rest of the AFC does. If the couple of bounces go their way, maybe a 9-win season turns into a 10-win season. And if it doesn't, maybe a 9-win season turns into a 7-win season. Aaron Rodgers' health is going to be a big thing. Behind Aaron Rodgers, the battle for the number 2 quarterback is between Mason Rudolph and Will Howard. Drew Aller, the rookie that they drafted from Penn State, is probably going to be the number 3 quarterback during the regular season. So either Mason Rudolph and Will Howard might find themselves on the outs come regular season time. But this defense is legit, and they don't play the Baltimore Ravens until December 20th. They play Baltimore 2 out of their final 4 games. So they can put enough wins together that it gets to a point where, I'm not saying that those games might be for the division. I don't think the Steelers are contending for a division title, but you never know. This division could beat itself up. But the fact that they don't have to play their toughest opponent, really, until the end of the season is a huge benefit for them. Like, yeah, they play the Eagles on November 22nd. That's a difficult game. But the early portion of the season, like the first half before their bye week, very manageable. So, yeah, I guess I have them over 8.5 wins, especially at plus money. Take a flyer on that. Maybe this is a team, though, that because the second half of the season after their bye week is more difficult, that you play an alternate, like a live under, an adjusted win total under after the first couple of weeks of the season if the Steelers get out to a great start. In the VSiN NFL betting guide, I did not have the Steelers making the playoffs. I did have the Ravens winning that division, but I did not have the Steelers as one of my 3 wildcard teams in the AFC. And as I mentioned, Steelers minus 188 to miss the playoffs right now. All right, that'll wrap up our 32 and 32 preview of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We will update a lot of these teams as we get closer to the start of the NFL season, but training camps are just getting underway, and so are we. Tomorrow, we wrap up week number 1 of the 32 and 32 previews with the Houston Texans as we move from the AFC North to the AFC South. A reminder, follow us on social media on Twitter at better_day. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. You can find us at Better Day, and download the Better Day mobile app, available now on the iOS App Store for you iPhone users. If you are an Android user, just reply to our daily newsletter, hit me up in the email, and I'll get you access to the Android version, the Google Play version of the Better Day mobile app. Coming up on Friday, part 2 of our Trench Report Strength of Schedule series, where I will go over the betting opportunities as a result of the Trench Report Strength of Schedule report. That article, part 1, the basic strength of schedule per the Trench Report, is available for free to the public up on BetterDay.com and in the BetterDay mobile app. And for BetterDay Insider and Premium members, part 2 will be out on Friday. Until then, I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.